Yeah. Welcome to the Gunny Gumby show. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance man.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you yet again for listening to the Gunny Gumby podcast or the Gunny Gumby show, right? Some of you are seeing this on YouTube. Some of you are listening on podcasts. And again, I appreciate y'all. Yes, last week's interesting to me. I was very surprised as to how many of y'all tuned in and watched or listened to the entire episode. And I appreciate y'all. Again, I'm really passionate about what it is that we're doing here. And, I'm just intrigued to see that there were some individuals who found what I had to say valuable. So I heard you. A lot of you were talking about, hey, that was a very short episode, right? Like you kind of left us hanging. Ultimately, that was not my intention. But maybe it was, right? It's got y'all hopefully tuning back in to go ahead and hear what I have to say some more. And today is the origin story, right? So a lot of you guys were trying to figure out, hey, okay, well, now that we got a better understanding of like who you are, that's great. But you know what I'm saying? Like, give us more in terms of like your background. And so here we are. This is the origin story episode. Again, my name is Gunny Gumby, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And hopefully you'll be tuning in much more, and you're sharing this with your friends, and I'm bringing value. Again, we're going to get to the good stuff. Right now, I'm just trying to get it all out of the way in regards to like who I am, why I'm impactful, why I could be a benefit, why I can be a resource to you, my listeners. And we've got some fantasy football stuff coming. We've got some military news coming. A lot of things right now that I am passionate about, and I kind of want to get out there and present to you guys. I'm excited for the opportunity, of course, along with my real estate aspirations and endeavors. So let's just get into it. The origin story, man. Who is Gunny Gumby? In a nutshell, I guess not a nutshell, but what it boils down to is I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I was born in you know what, y'all don't need to know that. But I was born in the 80s in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And I was raised there by my grandmother for the most part. My mother wound up moving to the States, trying to go ahead and pretty much kind of establish herself to provide a better life for myself and my little sister. And so I spent the first 6-7 years of my life in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. My grandmother, R.I.P. to my grandma, raised me in essence. So I have a very, very strong bond with my grandmother that to this day, even, in her passing, I still hold very dear to my life. And it's one reason why I look at, I guess you can say, motherly figures, a.k.a. women, in my life in such high regard, understanding the struggles, the passions, the desires, all the issues that come along with having to raise not only your own children, but perhaps your grandchildren, right? And it's one of those things where, unless you've lived it, and some of y'all understand it, some of y'all get it, there's a debt that you can never repay for the women in your life who've helped make you who you are. And it's a debt that I'll never be able to pay to my grandmother, and unfortunately, she's not here today for me to even attempt to repay it, because God knows I owe her so much. But yeah, so I was raised in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, in a nice little house/farm. My grandmother was really keen on growing her food, right? Like, if y'all don't know where Haiti is, Haiti shares the island of Hispaniola with the Dominican Republic. And a funny story about that is until really my adult ages, I was 27, when I realized that I was not just African American, but I was also Hispanic. So Haiti being a part of the island of Hispaniola with the Dominican Republic meant that I have a Hispanic heritage about me that I really wasn't even aware of until a good friend of mine, good mentor of mine, Rangel, if you're listening to this, made me aware of this literally about like 8-9 years ago. So, like I said, I was born in the 80s, and I didn't know until about 8-9 years ago that I have an origin that's based off of Hispanic culture and Hispanic heritage. It is what it is. Sometimes, you mature a little bit later in life and realizing some aspects. But yeah, so I spent 6-7 years out there, and then moved to the States. Well, moved to Canada first, right? Spent some time in Canada before we moved to New York, and then finally settling in New Jersey. My mother came back for me around that time. She left me when I was like, I think 2 years old, so about 4 years without her while she was in the States making things happen, and then wind up coming back for me, and then we moved to Canada before we moved to the United States. Spent some time in New York, and then we pretty much settled in New Jersey by the time I was 7 years old. So, funny story about that is I didn't speak English when I first came to the States. I spoke Spanish, spoke French, I spoke Creole. Today, I kind of lost a few of those things, right? So I only really speak Creole. I understand French, and I can understand Spanish. I'm trying to go ahead and get back on my game when it comes to those languages, but it's true what they say. Like, if you don't use it, you wind up losing it. And that was very much the case when I came to the States, and I was focusing on learning English. And shout out to my grandfather, because one of the things that he did was watch television when I was growing up. And not understanding a darn thing that I saw every time he'd watch TV, I often found myself trying to read subtitles that he would put in French for me to kind of comprehend what was being said in the TV. So it took me about 6 months to a year, but I literally learned English watching television in the States with the English version playing, but the subtitles were in French. So a little word of advice to some of y'all who are trying to learn a new language. If you're able to go ahead and listen to a movie or a show and read the subtitles, you'll be surprised how quickly you're able to go ahead and correlate the two in terms of conversation, understanding what the dialect sounds like, etc. It was a benefit for me, so that's just another. I know some of y'all are probably using Rosetta Stone or Babbel or something like that, but for me, it was watching TV and then reading in my own language, i.e. French, what they were saying while listening to it in English. So I did that. I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't the coolest kid growing up. Went through some things. Long story short, I finally grow up and I realized I'm pretty good in sports. So played basketball, played football, and that's in essence how I found my niche in school, right? And some of y'all know this, and some of y'all might not know this yet. And one thing I tell you about the American education system is you better find a niche. You better find a group that you're cool with or you're popular with, or you can settle in. Otherwise, school can be very, very lonely. And I'll tell you this, kids can be very, very mean when you don't speak the language and you don't look the same. And you might come off as somebody who's just different. Different isn't always good when it comes to the education system that we currently have here in the States. I don't hold anybody in any kind of way about that. I understand that it's tough growing up. I understand that it's hard trying to find an identity. And as such, oftentimes what happens is you're going to go ahead and find the person who's the least like anyone else and make that person a target, right? So I was that target for a very long time. I got some stories, man, about my sister putting me in bad situations because she could speak English pretty well when we came to the States. I couldn't speak it because she was already here with my mom. And so she, you know what, if you know me, you know me. You've heard some of the stories. But let's put it this way. My little sister, very clever individual, but she could be very naive, and she could be so mean sometimes. Got me in a lot of altercations that otherwise I wouldn't be in if not for her. But one thing I'll always say is that Sarah did her thing, and she allowed me to go ahead and learn toughness real quick. After running too many times from altercations as a kid, I learned to finally just say, you know what, it is what it is, and turning around and swinging back, fighting back, right? So I'll give credit to my sister because in her naive way, in her naive nature, she was allowed me to go ahead and pretty much build a level of toughness that I probably wouldn't have if not for getting in altercations where I was getting jumped regularly as a kid. But, you fast forward, and like I said before, I found my niche in sports. So once I discovered sports, it became apparent that I had an ability and a group of individuals I could fit in with, right? Basketball players, football players. Now, again, in Haiti, we don't play basketball, we don't play football, we play soccer. I'm pretty good at soccer as well. Never found it interesting only because it just seemed like a whole lot of work and running around without really seeing the benefit of scoring points, right? Basketball and football is a different beast. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're able to go ahead and identify and or showcase your skill sets as an athlete by putting points on the board. And there's a lot of points to go around in those two sports. So, I slowly dedicated myself to basketball and football. And we wound up moving not from Jersey, but we moved around in New Jersey quite a few times. My dad was a manager for Marriott Distributions. This is a company back in the day that was really in charge of everything when it came to food distributions, hotels. Marriott was involved in everything. And so my dad got the opportunity to move around a little bit, and so we moved around a little bit in terms of like following the job. I like to claim that I was brought into the States and I grew up in the Asbury Park, New Jersey area, right? So that to me is home base. But I will tell you that I also wind up growing up in the Browns Mills area of New Jersey, Montgomery area of New Jersey, Morehead City, where I became the man that would eventually join the military, would be in that particular area and time frame of my life. So we're going to fast forward to that. Fast forward to me moving to Browns Mills, New Jersey, where I met some incredible individuals. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Some of y'all might know what that is. Some of y'all might not. So my whole life growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, I was always limited in terms of interaction with what the religion would call worldly people, right? So I didn't have a lot of experiences with individuals outside of our religion. But there were a few people that I did have experiences with that I call best friends, from the Pierces to the Giordano's, the Thomases, and those individuals, the Paynes, like these are people that helped me grow in ways I don't think I ever would have because I was not exposed to, truthfully, outside of my family, I wasn't exposed to many people. My mother was very, very protective. My father was even more protective. And it was all about pretty much developing my mental strength, confidence, as well as my intellect. That was the focus of my family, and it wasn't about sports. It wasn't about going to sleepovers, going to parties. So the Paynes, the Pierces, the Thomases, the Giordano's, nothing but love for them because they truly expressed to me what friendship was all about when I was growing up. And the Thomases and the Pierces specifically, nothing but love for those guys. Two of my best friends, to this day, like I wish we were still pretty close. The Thomases, man, they had a son. They have a son, Terrence, who made me fall in love with basketball even more so. So I thought I was good in basketball until I played against Terrence, man. Terrence was, I know some of y'all out here will relate to this. There's that friend, right, that we all have, or at least some of y'all might have growing up, where that individual was a savage. And I mean like a savage when it came to playing sports. Competitive, athletic, all the gifts, all the God-given talent on the planet was bestowed upon one Terrence Thomas. Terry was the truth. Like, this is a kid that I've never lost one-on-one in basketball. And I'm calling all y'all out right now because a lot of my boys growing up, I've never lost one-on-one on basketball. Terrence Thomas, to this day, is the only individual I've ever actually lost. I'm talking about like lost in terms of like I've done series, 3-game series, 4-game series. I lose a game here and there, but I've never lost a series. So I've never lost a competition of one-on-one in my life unless that person was Terrence Thomas. To this day, he's the only individual that's undefeated playing against me. I'm still salty about it. I'm still trying to figure out a way to get back at that dude one way or another. Hopefully one day Terry will meet up and we'll be able to go ahead and get on the court. I can go ahead and show you what I've learned since I've seen you last. But Terry taught me a very valuable thing, is that you can be being the best at something in your school or in your peer group or with your friends or whatever the case might be. didn't mean you were the best. You had to find individuals who were better than you in order for you to get better. Terry taught me that. He taught me that, when I came to Browns Mills, and I realized, man, I was killing everybody. Hey, shout out to the McBrooms. Brian, he was another guy too, man, that taught me a lot about playing defense when it came to basketball. One of my boys as well. Terry, though, man, he taught me the value of elevating your game, and you can't be proud or too proud about the fact that you're the best player or person or competitor in a room, because unless you're playing against the best, you really ain't shit. You really ain't shit, right? And that was very hard for me to comprehend, because up until that point, I haven't discovered what it felt like to lose, and Terry taught me how to deal with it and how to get better and how to go ahead and pursue greatness, because I was a very competitive kid. So playing against Terrence Thomas, man, and I'm telling you, this kid was like baby MJ. Like everybody in Pemberton, New Jersey, Browns Mills, New Jersey, that dude was baby MJ. He's another individual that I truly believe, had he decided, to pursue his goals, his dreams, his ambitions, would have dominated in the NBA. Like, I'm talking about, like, out of high school, this kid could have gotten into the NBA and done damage, but that wasn't something that, like, he was aspiring to do. Being a Jehovah's Witness, like, we have specific, well, again, if you know, right? So it wasn't one of those things where it was something that he could pursue. So lived in Browns Mills for a while. We did a stint in Rock Hill, South Carolina, where, again, met some incredible people. Not a lot of individuals really scared me competitively over there when it came to basketball or football. About a year living out there before we moved back to Jersey, this time living in Mount Holly. And I went to BCIT, Burlington County Institute of Technology, on a scholarship where I actually studied culinary arts. So here I was going to a technical school, playing on the basketball team, playing sports. And this is where my identity literally began. It was in BCIT. Shout out to my boys, man, like Lance, Bavon, Adriel, Pedro, like, like my culinary arts crew. If y'all listening to this, again, shout out to y'all too. There's too many of y'all for me to go down the line, so again, don't take it the wrong way. But I learned a lot about friendship outside of sports when I went to that school, because it forced me to focus not only on academics, but it also forced me to focus on a skill set that I had acquired and learned from my grandmother, the benefit and art of cooking, right? So I pride myself on my culinary skill sets. It's something that I actually preach to my kids on a regular basis, and always trying to show them, the benefits of being able to handle themselves in the kitchen. But ultimately, so I wind up learning more about friendship and individuals off the court, right, off the field, because up until that point, I was literally making friends based off of my experiences in either the Kingdom Hall, which is the church for Jehovah's Witnesses, or my experiences on the court, right? And that's what I was relying on to kind of identify who I am. So I was a kid, I got married very early, got divorced very early. But went through some things in my youth, wind up, playing some college basketball and losing a scholarship due to a lack of discipline, which it is what it is. That's a story that, again, if you know me, you know me. Not everybody needs to know it. Moving to Florida, before pursuing some semi-pro basketball, that didn't work out too well. I'll leave that as well. Again, if you know me, you know the story. But I remember coming back from a practice, and I was living in West Palm Beach, Florida at the time, and I was done. I was just done. Everything that I had planned for my life up to that point, I was 21 years old, and I didn't feel like I was hitting any objectives, no goals. None of the stuff that I had set for myself was coming to fruition, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that I wasn't very disciplined. And I know that now, but I think I knew that then as well. And I saw a commercial for the United States Marine Corps, right? So again, some of y'all will know what I'm talking about. So the commercial was a dude pretty much climbing a mountain, going to the top of the mountain, and then he wind up fighting a dragon, right, with an NCO sword. I didn't know what any of that stuff meant when I first saw it, but I do remember was this dude tackled a mountain, got to the top of the mountain, and fought a dragon, right? So 21-year-old me, I'm thinking like, man, I could do that. I could do that. At this point, what did I have to lose? I can actually do something where it's going to be meaningful, bring value to my life, and I can go ahead and do this for the next few years while I figure out how I'm going to go ahead and achieve the goals I've set forth for myself. So the very next day, I walked into the recruiting office in West Palm Beach, Florida. I enlisted, and before you knew it, I was in boot camp 3.5 weeks later, right? Originally trying to be an 0311. Hey, to all my 03s out there, y'all the truth. Everything we do in the Marine Corps is to support you guys. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Y'all the real ones. Everybody else, you know what I'm saying? The whole point of the Marine Corps is to support these guys. And I got punked. Not punked, really. I guess you can say I got sold on shipping to boot camp early. And in doing that, meant I couldn't go infantry. I had to take an aviation job because infantry wasn't available. And so I did. I shipped early, went to boot camp, platoon 3053, Kilo Company, Marine Corps Air Station. I'm jumping the gun. Parris Island, right? So I'm a Parris Island trained Marine, you know what I'm saying? An original, not some of this West Coast stuff that some of you guys have gone to, which, you know, more power to y'all. But I'm an original, you know what I'm saying? That the Marine Corps was founded in Parris Island, and that's where I got my stripes. That's where I earned my Eagle Globe and Anchor. I went from freaking guide, squad leader, guide again, graduated boot camp with a meritorious promotion. I mean, I got people that I went to boot camp with that to me to this day are still friends. They're family. Met one of my best friends at Marine Combat Training, like not too many months after that. Like, graduated boot camp, go to MCT. Between boot camp and Marine Combat Training, I went through some personal stuff. You know what I'm saying? With an ex, it is what it is. Yada, yada, yada. Not worth me mentioning. And Marine Combat Training was where it was all at. Like, I learned real quick that, listen, if you're somebody out there right now contemplating the Marine Corps, hey, again, the Marine Corps was the best decision I ever made, right? As they say, best job I ever had. Best job I ever had was spending time in the Marines amongst alpha-type personalities. Challenge, like competitive, challenge. Like, if you can think about it, the Marine Corps provided it. And I met one of my best friends to this day, Ryan Mason, in Marine Combat Training. Both of us being from the East Coast. He's from New York, I'm from New Jersey. We wind up creating a bond that was inseparable. We had met each other before at boot camp, but it really set tone. Like, we really got real tight in MCT. And then from MCT, you know what I'm saying, we wind up both getting the same MOS to where we were both going to Pensacola, Florida. All right. So it was a relationship and a bond that it's funny because it continues after that. So MCT, Marine Combat Training, real quick. Probably the most grueling and most difficult and challenging experience of my entire adult life. To this day, I would have done boot camp 3 times over, if it meant I did not have to do a month of Marine Combat Training. I'm from the city. Like I told y'all before, right? I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and I was on a little farm, but I ain't never had to do anything because my grandmother spoiled me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was spoiled. Never had to go out there and milk any goats. I didn't have to go ahead and clean chicken coops. I didn't have to do any of that. So as a young kid, I was familiar with the outside world, but I was not keen on it. And as a kid, I lived in New Jersey. Hey, Asbury Park, New Jersey doesn't have a lot of woods, right? Even when I moved to Browns Mills sounds like, that's pretty outdoorsy. And you'd be right? Like, it's about as outdoorsy as it gets when it came to my time in New Jersey. But I never played outside. I wasn't the kid that was going to go fishing. I wasn't going to go hunting. It wasn't my thing. But Marine Combat Training, look, if you know, you know. That is literally an entire month of being outside. Literally being outside for a whole month. And you sleep outside, you fight outside, you hike outside, you walk outside, like you're walking everywhere. It's miles upon miles upon miles of, how do I put it? Like, of grinding, legitimate grinding. And I realized real quick that it was a great skill set to have, and I'm forever grateful for it. But in all actuality, I will. I'll never do it again. It's not one of those things where I would be excited to go ahead and pursue again. So that's Marine combat training. So after Marine combat training, we got assigned our MOSs and where we were going. In Pensacola, Florida. I went to Pensacola, Florida, spent some time there. It's where I met the mother of my children. It's where I discovered my bad. I discovered my MOS. I discovered a lot myself. It's where my So after Pensacola, we wind up going to, well, again, me and Mason stuck it out, right? We thought we were going to be separated, but we weren't. So we finished our military occupational specialty training, and both of us are saying our goodbyes, thinking like, yo, this is the last week we got in this game before it's a wrap, and we got orders to Cherry Point, North Carolina, both of us. And what's funny is we got orders to Cherry Point, North Carolina to Marine Aviation Logistics Squadron 14, MALS 14. So we go to MALS 14 together. And we spend, our first tour in MALS 14. We also deployed together to Iraq. I think Iraq deployment was one of those things where we wind up maturing a little bit faster because it's things you don't know that you don't know. And it wasn't without its learning opportunities, I guess is the only way to put it. But it matured us. It made us grow up a little bit faster. We came back from Iraq, and both of us decided to take on more responsibility within our military occupational specialty at the MALS, trying to go ahead and hold more of the heavy load so Marines didn't have to, right? So we figured out that it was best suited on us, to carry a heavier burden. Long story short, had a blast. Our first tour was great, so much so that I completely forgot that my intention was to do a few years, get out of the game to pursue my life. I wind up getting orders, right? I re-enlisted, and I got orders to Beaufort, South Carolina, Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort, South Carolina. In essence, going back to where it all started, the Beaufort, South Carolina is right next to Parris Island, South Carolina. So went to Beaufort. Long story short, guess who followed me there? Or who? Yeah, no, it was Mason. Mason got orders after I did. So he followed me there. So me and Mason both wind up in Marine Corps Air Station, Beaufort, South Carolina. And spent our time there. And finally, when it came down to it, I was pursuing or hoping to pursue an opportunity to become a drill instructor in the Marine Corps. One of my mentors, Derek Brooks, wouldn't allow it, right? He had just came back from recruiting duty, and he sold me, as a good recruiter should, on the benefits of going recruiting vice pursuing the DI route. At the time, I felt I was built for it. I was a black belt martial arts instructor. I had an aggressive leadership style. I had gone through a bunch of leadership courses, and I just kind of felt like it made more sense for me to pursue drill instructor than anything else. But after conversations with him, I realized, you know what? The challenge apparently is on recruiting duty. Hell, I can do that. I can be a recruiter, and I took on the challenge. But again, one Derek Brooks is a very convincing individual, and he was able to go ahead and convince me to pursue a passion of his, really. But like, it's more of a challenge for me. So he pretty much catered to my competitive nature about, hey, if you really want to challenge, this is where you want to go. So I went to California, went to the schoolhouse to be a recruiter, very intense training, the kind of training that has benefited me greatly in my life post-military. Did that and decided that, you know what, I wanted to come to Texas. So I requested, it's called a by name request. So again, shout out to Sergeant Major Nash for making that happen for me. Reached out to him, had a conversation with him. He liked what I brought to the table, and he felt comfortable with bringing me out to Houston, Texas, one of the most competitive and best recruiting stations in the country. Everybody's trying to go to California or trying to go back home. Me, I'm like, I'm not trying to go back to the East Coast. I'm not trying to go to Cali. I've been here, done that. Not a fan of California. Never have been, never will be. But I've heard so much about Texas, right? People are always asking, how'd you get to Texas? Well, like half of the Marines that I know in the Marine Corps are from Texas. And they all have a swagger about them that's just unheard of. And so I was very keen on coming out here to kind of get an idea of what that would look like. So I came out here to Texas, man, and I was very blessed and fortunate to be one of the few individuals selected to come out here. You know, one of the perks of outperforming other individuals and having a resume that just speaks for itself. But Sergeant Major Nash made it happen. I came out here to Houston. We worked out of the RSS Humble office, one of the best recruiting substations, again, in the country. So again, if you're thinking about recruiting, or you're just thinking about Texas in general, if you're a Marine, whatever you are, recruiter, whatever you want to be, Texas is where it's at. There are no better citizens of this country than they are in Texas. And some of y'all right now are gonna look at me and hate. Look, I've lived in Jersey, South Carolina, North Carolina, New York, Texas now. I've traveled all over the country. There is something about Texans. It's different. Like, it's just different. Like, literally patriotism runs through their vein. These are very, very competitive people. They are prideful people. They're steadfast in their beliefs. Like, I can't explain it, and you really can't explain it until you come out here. But I'm telling you right now, like, of all the places that I've been, I've never seen better citizens in terms of what this country is about than Texans. Call me biased, but hey, I'm still living out here even after I got out. So maybe I am biased. I don't know. But there's a reason why so many people move to Texas. There's a reason for it. So I'll let you do your own research. That's my opinion. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm just saying that's my opinion from my experiences and from all the places that I've lived and or been to. So that said, came out here to Houston, and I'm not going to lie to you. Again, I was supposed to get out. Remember, I was supposed to get out. Like, my goal was not to go ahead and stay in the Marine Corps. Excuse me. I wound up spending the last 7 years of my life out here. 8 years. I'm still here. So it's 8 years and counting. Recruiting, one of the hardest, most difficult billets there is in the military. I'm talking about Marine Corps, Air Force, Navy, Army, whatever. Hardest billet there is. Dominated out here. Got the privilege to go ahead and become a staff non-commissioned officer in charge of my own office. You know, shout out to my COs and to, again, the RI at the time, Master Sergeant Wilson, who was Master Guns Wilson, who is now retired. He's Coach Wilson now. But literally, he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I remember having a conversation with this man, and he pretty much told me, 4 months in to recruiting, that I was going to be in 8412, which is a career recruiter. And I remember telling him, like, yeah, I appreciate that, Master Sergeant, but I'm only doing this, and I'm planning on getting out. And he told me, like, okay, cool. You're going to be in 8412. Just watch. And a year and a half later, 2 years later, actually, I was calling him like, hey, Master Sergeant, I want to be an 8412 career recruiter. Hey, real talk, 8412 career recruiter is responsible for some of my greatest achievements, greatest accolades of my life, right? We're talking about accelerated promotions, accelerated opportunity, the ability to impact young men and women left and right with their futures, like making decisions that are going to allow them to see success that many people will never see in their entire lives. It's been the most rewarding billet experience of my life, was staying on recruiting duty and achieving and assisting individuals in achieving their goals. Not only Marines who were in the Marine Corps, who were coming out here to get promoted and make themselves more competitive, but also young men and women who were just looking to serve their country and do it at a high level. Like, there is just, you know what? It's the best job I ever had. Recruiting duty was the best job I ever had. And I woke up one day, man, like, and there was some stuff, some personal stuff that was currently ongoing. There was some issues that came up that I definitely don't hold against the Marine Corps in general. Look, I'll tell you this, in every situation, every organization, there's going to be the 10%. And unfortunately, I encountered a particular, was he a major? I think he was a major. That kind of like opened my eyes to me saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. Now, to be frank, I had gotten to a point where I was tired. I had talked to some of my closest confidants about getting out 12 years into the Marine Corps, and everybody was just like, bro, you're 8 years away from retirement. You're crazy. The 13th year mark came around, and an opportunity made itself available for me to say, you know what, it's time. And I was able to walk away. And since then, I've been in the real estate game. And I want to give a shout out to Myers, the home buyers, for giving me my first opportunity outside of the uniform. Josh DeShong, you know what I'm saying? If you can hear this, maybe I don't know if I should delete your name and whatnot. I don't want to go ahead and come off as this name dropping, but Myers, the home buyers is I'm very grateful for the opportunity they gave me in understanding the real estate game. And Josh is one of the realest leaders I've ever encountered, like, in my whole life. I'm talking about, like, in the military, outside the military. Josh is one of the realest leaders I've ever encountered in my whole life. And he gave me an opportunity to be a part of his organization that I have not forgotten to this day. I always credit, every success, every win that I get with Josh DeShong having been the person that gave me that opportunity. And Josh, hey, just wanted to let you know, I appreciate you still, man, even to this day. I hope you're doing well. I see Myers is doing some amazing things. And again, thank you. But again, like I said before, like, that's what introduced me to the opportunity to go ahead and pretty much do what I do now, which is real estate investing. I wound up getting my real estate license. I'm also an active agent in the state of Texas. And Josh DeShong, man, Josh gave me the blueprint on what success looks like if you want to be an investor in the real estate game. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years, all right? So the last 2 years of my life, I've been pursuing real estate investing because it's a passion of mine. It's a true passion of mine. I really believe of what it can do for individuals. And it's one of the things where it made me learn that it's important that individuals look at what their passions are. You might know what it is, you might not know what it is, but there's a passion. There's something in you that speaks volumes to a specific goal or a specific viewpoint, a specific achievement. There's something about you that just can't be explained, and you got to figure out what that is. And I didn't know what mine was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had no idea. I had no clue what it was until I was given an opportunity by Myers, the home buyers, which allowed me the ability to learn the real estate investing side thoroughly. I'm talking about thoroughly. Josh has a mentality that is rare, right? While most people want to acquire knowledge and hoard it all for themselves and keep it to themselves, Josh was keen on sharing it with people within his organization, like giving the blueprint of what made him who he was, what his successes look like. And you don't see that very often. And I think that's why I respected him then, and I respect him now, right? Like, I had a couple of other opportunities and options available in terms of job options when I was getting out. Some were offering more money, but Josh was the only person that I felt like after meeting him that just resonated with somebody that I would follow into a burning building. He reminded me of my leaders like a Freddie Perez, right? Like a Derek Brooks, like a Mark Pegram, right? Nash. Like, I could sit there and go through a whole list of leaders that I've been benefited by as a young Marine and as an older Marine. But really with Josh, it was about like, man, this guy, he cares, like he gets it. And he was educating me on how to be better. You know what I'm saying? Like how to be able to provide better for my family and for myself. And that's why I said, all day, every day. So I'll tell you right now, I think real estate is one of those pathways that can be life-changing. It can change a lot of lives. And it's just a matter of wanting it bad enough or believing in it bad enough. And I can sit here and tell you all day, like, you need to do this, that, or the other. But in all actuality, like, it's my story of what my passion is and what my passion has done for me, right? Every one of y'all got your own story. I'll tell you this. I do thank the Marine Corps for the ability to go ahead and have the skill sets that I've acquired that has made me. So at the end of the day, I thank thank you guys for listening. Like, this has gone way longer than it should have. So that's the origin story. That's how I became who I am. Right? This is why I'm here today and why I feel so adamant and passionate about sharing with you guys my story, because I want you guys to pursue your own. I want you guys to look at your lives. And if you're in that cubicle right now listening to this and you hate it, you're sick and tired of it, you know, maybe me expressing to you that there is an opportunity for you to pursue something you are passionate about. And I know a lot of the gurus will tell you, like, hey, suck it up. You know what I'm saying? Keep working where you're at, right? And don't worry about don't worry about, you know what I'm saying? Like, make your main goal, your passion, a side hustle. And although to some individuals they might not have that choice, they might have to go ahead and that's their route, right? They can keep working and pursuing somebody else's dream for the time being, and on their own time, you know what I'm saying, part-time, pursue their own dreams. But one thing I've noticed is that if you're pursuing your dreams part-time, it becomes extremely difficult for you to see results. If you have the ability or the means to bet on yourself for the next 6 months, bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. There are many stories out there about individuals who woke up one day and decided they were done. They weren't doing the same thing over and over again. They unplugged themselves from the matrix, so to speak. And if you have the ability to unplug yourself from the matrix, I urge you thoroughly to do exactly that. So, again, this has been one of those long episodes, man. So I just wanted to go ahead and explain a breakdown. This has been my origin story. And, again, it doesn't mean that I've got all the answers. It doesn't mean that I'm the go-to for response or understanding as to what you need to do as an individual. What I'm saying is I have a story, too. I'm a lot like you, a lot like many people, right? And was doing something for a long time. Like I said before, 13 years in the Marine Corps. I was at E7, made it to E7 in 10 years. Google it. That's not something that's done very easily. But I was on the fast track to E9, which is the top echelon of the promotions for the enlisted ranks. I could have retired from the Marine Corps. I chose to walk away at 13 years, right? 13 years. And I have zero regrets. Again, you know, I want to give a shout out to some individuals right now, but I don't think I should because, you know, they were very instrumental in me feeling comfortable with my decision. But my big sister, you know what I'm saying, they just shared an anniversary. I don't know if I do want to give you a shout out, but I don't know if I can right now. So I'll talk to you offline, you know what I'm saying, about giving you a shout out. I know you're retired. I know you and your husband are retired. But I appreciate y'all specifically because y'all were very, very impactful in making my decision, my final decision to walk away. And the benefits you guys have had not only on my life but on my family's life. Like, again, extremely grateful and forever loyal to you guys. And man, like I said, I've been blessed to be surrounded by some incredible people. It's a damn shame that it wound up being one person really that flipped the switch for me that made me go from like, I'm not sure if I want to go ahead and do this anymore to like, I definitely know I don't want to do this anymore. But in the same token, I even thank him because I do feel like if I hadn't gone through that experience, I would have stayed in. And nothing wrong with staying in. Nothing wrong with that at all. But for me, I know I couldn't give 100% of myself regularly once I made the decision that I was done. And so I didn't want to be that guy that was just sticking around the military just chasing a retirement because I've met those guys. I've known those guys, and I've hated those guys. They become the Marines that everybody talks about because they're not real. Everybody knows they're there for their retirement, and I never wanted to be that guy. So, again, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything happens for a reason. But I'll tell you this. It's 2021. If you have a passion, a desire, or a goal that you want to achieve, you've never been in a better position in life where you have access to education, opportunity. Even with this whole COVID pandemic thing, it's created so many opportunity for you to go ahead and take your passion and turn that into a business, into your goals, into your future, whatever you want to look at it as. So, again, it's been a while. I got to cut this off. I appreciate you for listening. This is the Gunny Gumby Show. And again, next time you hear from me, we're going to be kicking off some actual topics that, now I can get into. Because now y'all know who I am. If you decide you want to keep listening, please like and subscribe. Stick around. I think it's going to be fun, you know what I'm saying, going through this journey with you guys. Growth is a real thing. It's a real thing. And knowledge is power. And I'm trying to give as much knowledge to you guys as possible to make the best decision for yourself and for your futures and for your families. All right. That's that. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Twitter, at Gunny Gumby. It's pretty easy. Looking forward to seeing you guys. If you got topics you would like me to discuss or something that kind of like irks your nerves or you want discussed, believe me, I got an opinion on everything. You can go ahead and send me a DM, and I'll take a look at it, and then we can make that a topic. So I'd appreciate your assistance in making this a more engaging platform for me to go ahead and share my thoughts and, of course, share your thoughts, right? So I'll be taking calls down the road. Right now, we're still in the process of getting that set up. But again, thank you for listening. This is The Gumby Show. I'm out. See you guys next week.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.